Hey there, I would like to start my presentation by stating the obvious. Edinburgh is a really beautiful city. From the nice views on Princess Street and Princess Street itself, to the many small streets that penetrate the city, all the way to the stunning views of the castle and all the surrounding. That is probably the reason why people really like to cycle here in the city. You can see evidence for that on the left figure, where all the bike infrastructure like parking, for example, are shown, and also some of the bicycle lanes, and you can see that there are quite a few spread all over the city. And then another phenomenon of the people liking to cycle in the city is the critical mass event, where people try to raise awareness for the dangers of riding a bike in Edinburgh. I would be super interested who cycles here in Edinburgh, so feel free to write that down in the comments below or send me some sort of message or something like that. When I think about cycling in Edinburgh, I really think of two things. The first one is absolute freedom, in the sense that you can get anywhere within Edinburgh on your bike. You are faster than bus and car in most of the cases. It's more sustainable and it's even free and also exercises your body. However, unfortunately, I also think about potholes, because there are many potholes here and you have to navigate them if you want to, cycle in the city, obviously. My name is Martin and my background is in applied science and machine learning, from theoretical shampoo research in finance, and currently in healthcare. And as you might have guessed already, I really like Edinburgh and cycling. And for that reason, I came up with the following project, Potholes and Cycling, a hobby project story in Edinburgh. That is really the content part of my presentation, but then there's also a tech part, because this presentation is part of the Tech Meetup Edinburgh. And that title could have been a case study, no-code mobile apps to supercharge your projects. So I want you to take from this presentation that cycling in Edinburgh is nice, despite the many potholes, but also that you can use no-code apps, no-code services in order to build your apps and thereby really supercharge your project without much technical knowledge. Okay, the problem statement is pretty simple. Well, there are many potholes in Edinburgh. That picture here shows someone having put a half-a-liter water bottle in a pothole, and you can see the pothole is huge in both spatial extent and depth. And then there are even news outlets going so far and stating, quote, Edinburgh roads, capital named second worst city in UK for potholes and worst at fixing them. So I think that kind of deserves a hobby project. Okay, my data-driven solution attempt, at least, is to first build a mobile app, then collect data on potholes by walking the streets, next analyze the collected data, and last but not least send the data and the analysis to the council, while hoping that they might use that information to intelligently spread budget in order to fix the potholes. That plan is obviously heavily dependent on the very first part, where I build the app. And since I don't have an infinite amount of time, even though it might seem like it by doing that project, that app should be built quickly. So for that reason, I turn towards the so-called no-code approach in order to build that app. Now, what is no-code? No-code is a very simple concept where you build software products, for example, apps, services, or websites, using no code. So you do not program anything and nevertheless build your software with that. In order to make use of that for the mobile case, so for my, in that case, Android phone, I turn towards the MIT App Inventor, which is a free and open source software, so it's very nice to use. And then you can assemble apps like Lego blocks. The workflow is pretty simple. You visit the website appinventor.mit.edu, then you build your app by snapping together blocks for the logic and using a very simple UI designer in order to come up with a graphical interface. And last but not least, you install it on your phone using a small companion app. Okay, the code logic, as I said, is really assembled like Lego. So that's also what I did. You can see a small part of the app that I built here, and you can see that there are blocks that really snap into each other and thereby define the code logic. And it's made in a very intuitive way so that you can read the blocks and you kind of understand what's going on. In that case here, when the screen initializes, the GPS sensor is enabled. And if the out file, so the file where I will store the coordinates of the potholes, does not exist, then that file is created. So that's only a small part of the app. And in the next slide, you can see the app. So here you can see a few blocks, a few bigger blocks, and these blocks completely define the app. So that's it. That's your app. The left big block shows what happens when you open the app. The middle big block shows what happens when you press a button to capture your GPS coordinates, and thereby the GPS coordinates of the pothole. And the other few smaller assemblies of blocks denote some sort of bookkeeping. After having defined the logic, it's time to build the UI, and I used for that the, again, MIT App Inventor built-in UI designer. It is quite powerful. I nevertheless decided to build a relatively simple app, and you can see the app to the left here. It consists of 4 parts. The first part is a debug switch that you can set depending on what you want to capture, and then the next part is really the main part of the app, which is a very, very big button. You press it whenever you stand next to a pothole, and upon doing so, the pothole coordinates are stored in a CSV or text file on your phone. The third part of the app interface is really just a bit for debugging or analysis purposes, where you can see the last captured snapshot, and the very last part of the app is a button to contact me. Now, you can always contact me. I really like to get messages, but in that case, the idea behind that button is to crowdsource data. So people can go out, download the app, use the app, track potholes in their neighborhood, and then by pressing that button, they can send me the file so that I can incorporate them in the analysis. Speaking of the analysis, I did a small test run. So I live in the beautiful Gorgie area, which is in the west. You can see on the picture here, which I took using a drone, in the very far, the Arthur Seat, and then a bit closer, the Tynecastle Stadium. And also there is a very big street, the Gorgie Road, which you can see in the middle of the picture. So what I did is I essentially walked Gorgie Road, and every time I see a pothole, I simply press the button. And by doing so, I find that on that Gorgie Road, at least on the part that I walked, I found 123 potholes. And not only that 123 potholes is quite a few for such a short street, but also they really appear to be spread quite unevenly. So there are regions where there are many potholes, and then there are regions where there are, fewer potholes. Never very few, but at least fewer potholes. Okay, so coming to the recap, I built a mobile app in 6 days. These days were spread over weekends and they were not full days. So I want to say I built an app very quickly without any prior experience really. And I did so using no code. And what I would like you to take from this presentation is that you can absolutely do so too. It does not require rocket science in order to build an app these days, and no code is an absolutely awesome tool to just get started essentially. Whatever projects that you have in mind, let it be hobby, commercial, or whatever else. Now, regarding this project here, the next steps would be to send the data and the analysis to the council, and potentially also compute a few more metrics. Like, for example, I would be interested in the density of potholes, and then also the density of potholes correlated with the council tax bans. Okay, with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. My name is Martin. If you would like to, reread what I've done here, the left QR code links you to a blog article that corresponds to this presentation. You can find the slides, you can find this talk, and you can also find the app that I was speaking about on that blog article. And then the second QR code links to my LinkedIn, so drop me a message if you feel like it. I'm always happy to drink a coffee or just chat about bikes, data, and potholes in Edinburgh. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.